Field of 68 after dark. Welcome in, everybody, to a Wednesday, March 4th edition of Field of 68 After Dark. We're going to be here with you on SiriusXM Channel 84, on YouTube, on X for the next hour, breaking down all of Tuesday's action and a whole lot more. Hoping to be joined by Ohio State coach Jake Diebler here in just a moment. Got a star-studded lineup. Jeff Goodman, the great, elite, high level at his absolute best in this month of March, Randolph Childress. How we doing, RC?
I don't know what you set me up for, but let's go. I got you. You set me up for something. I don't know. Get that type of intro.
I always love to see your face. You know that. So obviously, we're in the month of March. We're in the throes of it here. Coaches and teams are trying to make their last statements, obviously, to get on the right side of the bubble, stay on the right side of the bubble. And a couple of items on that front tonight, Jeff Goodman. Ohio State primarily. They're in right now in our most recent Field in the 68, and they blast Penn State on the road tonight, which, again, that's just one of those you can't lose. But not only do they not lose, Jeff, they blasted them.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're coming off the win against Purdue, right? That was a huge one for them, a statement win, a resume win, all that. And then what do? You absolutely, blast Penn State on the road, which is only going to help your numbers, because that's what Ohio State needs to do right now. Unfortunately, this is the way the system is set up, John, to whereas, again, your scoring margin is capped, but your efficiency numbers are not necessarily capped. So when you run it up like this, you're only going to help your numbers and you're going to move up in the net. And that's what should happen. We'll see. Maybe it won't. You never know with the net, but a win like this generally will help you tomorrow in the net. And this was a big one for Jake Diebler, who we'll talk to here in a few.
Yeah, nobody knows more than me if Utah State coach Jared Calhoun would not have, sent home the windmill dunk. The Memphis Tigers would be in the tournament right now. That's a joke. But obviously, yes, RC, margin matters. You're trying to make a case here, and we know metrics can be the difference when the margins get pretty thin.
I mean, it can, but more important, they just had to get the win. And at this point, I don't know how much metrics going to help them at this point. And let's be honest, they got a big one. They got a big one coming up. That Indiana game, Indiana has to have it, right?
Yep.
That's a big game for them. So I think everything they need is right in front of them, and that's what you want, where you don't need help. And Ohio State, closing the season has done that, and they got to get another one. But again, they're on the right side of the bubble right now.
Yeah, both teams, by the way. That's going to be a very desperate Big Ten game, Ohio State, Indiana. RC, I'm going to come back to you on this Ohio State team. Obviously, huge game tonight from Mobley, 28 tonight, super talented young player. And then Bruce Thornton is a guy that's been there for 4 years, has never made the tournament. Yep. It feels like, I don't want to, put anything on him in terms of Sweet 16 late, but it feels like guard play, it's there for this Ohio State team if you catch him on the right night.
I mean, it's there. This has been early in the year an inconsistent team, and now they're starting to play good basketball for a team. They played themselves in the tournament. They weren't, and I think they've closed games down the stretch. They put themselves in it, and when you have guard play, you're going to win games. You're going to be in close games, and for them, it's good to see them, not just close out, close games lately, but also go in and take care of business. I mean, they hammered Penn State here tonight, and again, they got another big one coming up against a really hungry Indiana team, and this guard play is going to have to carry them through it.
Yeah, and again, obviously, we're hoping to be joined by Jake Diebler here momentarily. But Jeff, just the job, right? Ohio State is an interesting one. I don't know what their NIL situation is. I know obviously football is the big priority there, but I think about the Mike Conley year, there with Greg Oden. I mean, that was a team that 10, 15 years ago, they were mainstays deep in the March, and I don't know if that's the expectation in 2026, but I'd like to see him be relevant again.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Diebler's got to get him in the tournament, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing. He was hired as an assistant, on Chris Holtman's staff, and Holtman was fired, and Diebler did a good enough job at the end of the year a couple of years ago to get a chance at the full-time job. Did it. They were close last year. They made some changes, up front, the biggest thing was bringing in a guy like Tilly who can stretch the defense, who can step out and make shots. And, tonight was one of those nights where they had everything clicking, and, Penn State just is kind of a dead team at this point, but they shot the hell out of it tonight.
Yeah. And, again, it's one of those things, RC, where we'll talk to Coach about it. But when you are having every single game, it's, hey, if we lose, we're out. I mean, the pressure, is that something that you think that you feel? Is that something that you play with? Is it something that you coach with? Like,
no, I would imagine they know. I mean, everybody knows at this point because you're playing to get into the NCAA tournament. So it's just a matter of how you handle it. And I think as a coach, you just embrace it at this point. I mean, they are obviously pushing the right buttons. And Jeff's right. I mean, they've been on him. And Jeff knows I've been an advocate for it because I've been like, hey, if you're not giving them enough money, I don't want to hear it. And for a guy that's just taken over the job, even earlier on when everybody was questioning, saying job security, I thought it was insane. Like, hey, he's doing a pretty good job. They're not horrible. They were close a year ago, and now I know he got to get him in. My question is if you're giving him enough resources to be in. So,
well, and he's here now. Jake Diebler, obviously 94-62 win tonight over Penn State, and he joins us now. Jake, just kind of take us through, man. Obviously, you're trying to stay on the right side of things. You're trying to keep winning and solidify. So what's it like just kind of navigating, and I think that hopefully we still have him, but
I'm still here.
Yeah, gotcha. You look better than
on
ever.
The plane. On the plane.
But navigating the season, knowing, how high the stakes are game to game.
Listen, we've just tried to focus on one day at a time. We've dealt with a ton of roster adversity, guys in and out of lineups, finding out on game day guys weren't going to be available. I felt like if we could get healthier, we could play our best ball at the right moment. So I think that's what we're seeing. And, we got good news coming. I think Brandon Knoll's going to be able to check into a game here before the season's over. Like, we're trending in the right direction regarding that, and it's helping us play our best ball.
So, Jake, I remember when you signed Mosley, you were like, I'm not sure there's a better shooter in the country than this kid. And he's had his ups and downs, but the last couple of games, man, he has absolutely delivered. He looks healthy, and we know what you got in Bruce, and Royal's been really good lately as well. Have you felt like if you can get clicking and get everybody together, that get some momentum, that this is a team that you can be dangerous? I mean, you've got a team with, again, one of the best guards in the country in Bruce Thornton.
Absolutely. I think when we're all out there and we're getting a chance to practice together now too, you're seeing what we're capable of. And we can score at multiple levels. We have multiple guys capable of getting double figures. And I think that makes us a really tough guard. That versatility offensively is a real weapon for us. And great hat, by the way, Jeff, man. You look good. You look good in that hat.
I had a Memphis.
It takes a lot to make Jeff look good. Takes a lot to make Jeff look good. Hey, part of what you're talking about too is Christoph Tilly. I mean, his ability to stretch the defense at the big man spot obviously opens up so much for your guards inside. And you talk about getting Branding back, getting him back. You say he's close to coming back. I mean, what do you expect him to be on a minute restriction, or when he goes, he's going to be ready to give you all he has?
There will be a conditioning element to that for him, certainly, but it won't be any restrictions once he's cleared. But I think the other thing that Tilly does for us, right, certainly he's stretching the floor better the second half of the season, but his playmaking at that size allows us to be real creative offensively. I mean, we had multiple guys with at least 3 assists tonight. It was a big part of the success we had. So we got to keep doing that. The ball's got to continue to pop. We got to continue to move and cut and all those things. And when we do, I think we're a really tough guard.
Coach, there was
John, I got one more for him, and then you can close it out.
Okay.
You when you're up like that, Jake, and we know the metrics matter now. And I hate this. I hate even asking it, but you're up 20, 25, whatever it is, and you want to improve that net. How much are you like, hey, listen, we got to keep our starters in, we got to keep our good players in, because right now every line in the net might matter to the selection committee. So I hate doing this to Mike Rhodes, class guy, but like, he knows you got to do it.
Well, I think the biggest thing is I got done the last 48 hours watching them come back on teams in the second half. So that was where my mind first went. But listen, we want to play the game and honor the game the right way, but we got to keep improving. I think that's the biggest thing for us. We haven't had a ton of time with our whole team out there, so we got to continue to, get good reps. And listen, they're a threat to combat. They've done it all year long, and that was the biggest thing for us in that game. I wasn't worried so much about metrics. I just wanted to win that game.
And then finally, Jake, wanted to ask you, man, because I saw this NRC, if you have one, certainly if you have time, but I saw a stat floating around, I think it was yesterday on social media, about just how few 4-year seniors are graduating with their same team. And so for you've got one of those in the country, in Bruce Thornton. So how meaningful is it for you, knowing his story, his career, to ideally cap his career off with getting to that NCAA tournament?
It's huge. It'd be huge for him. It'd be huge for us. But you guys got to understand something. When you're starting a new program and you're building something, you need a player that you can lean on, that can help you establish that standard, that culture that's so important. And he was that guy, and it was easy for me. And he and I have built a special relationship over the last 6 years. Everything that he's getting, everything that he's doing, he deserves, because he works so hard. What you see on the court is who he is every single day, every rep in practice. And he's an even better young man. So couldn't be happier for him. He's leading us, down this stretch in such a great way. And, we're going to celebrate him, certainly. His senior night, it's something that should be celebrated. Guys like him should be celebrated across the country. But, we got a big task ahead of us. So,
Jake, will you cry on senior night?
I tend to get a little emotional at times, Jeff, but I'm gonna try and keep it together, because we got an important game ahead of us in that one.
Yeah,
very true.
Yeah. I just want to say good luck against Indiana, Coach. We're cheering for you, and slap Joe Justice across the back of the head for me, man. Just keep him in line for me.
You can hit him once.
All right, guys. Too. Appreciate you having me on.
Man.
We'll catch up again soon. Thanks.
Yes, sir. That's Ohio State men's basketball coach Jake Diebler. Yeah, I think I don't remember exactly what but it's like maybe 35, 40 guys in the entire country that are like, and I might be shooting it pretty high. There might be less, but that just kind of
speaks. I think it was less. I think it was less, and it's amazing too, because it's not like Bruce Thornton got paid. I mean, he got paid well this year, but he could have made more money had he gone somewhere else.
Yeah.
And especially after going 0 for 3 in the NCAA tournament his first 3 years, he might have just said to himself, you know what, let me go, and I don't want to say pull a Kevin Durant, but like kind of pull a Kevin Durant. Let me just go to somewhere that I know is going to be really good and it's going to be a lock to get in the NCAA tournament, so I don't have to deal with this stuff coming out of my career and never going to the NCAA tournament. But he stuck with it, and it'd be a great, great story for him to finish his career with an NCAA tournament berth.
Yeah,
I think he's earned it. I think he's earned it, and he deserves it. You're talking about a guy that with a 50-40, 80 split, averaging 17 and 4 in a Power 5 conference. I think he left money on the table, and I'm cheering for him to get this thing done and bring it home and get Ohio State in the tournament. He deserves it.
Yeah, Trevor says it's 22. Okay. 22 guys.
You were close. You were within like 20.
Right? I mean, it's
not too bad.
It's kind of
good math for you.
Yeah,
it's kind of sick. Yeah. I mean, the fact that that's where we are. Yeah, I mean, if I can get within 20 or 50% or 75%, that's a pretty good night for me. But damn, man, I mean, where has the loyalty gone in college basketball? Golly, it's a different world. It's a different world we're living in. So I hope that one guy that did stay,
RC would have taken the bag. We know RC never would have finished his career at Wake. He would have taken the bag.
Gone.
Damn. Damn,
Gone.
Bro. Right. We see the Wake degree in the background, bro.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be there in NIL era. Right?
Look at what he got him. Got him on the field of 68. Is Wake degree.
That's why I'm here. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate the honesty. All right. Staying in the Big Ten tonight, another bubble win. Indiana had to have it. Obviously, a 6.5-point favorites tonight over Minnesota. Minnesota, just a different team on the road with the shooting splits, no question about it. But again, I mean, this was a beatdown. 77-47. Indiana handles business, stays alive. Obviously, Jeff Goodman. Where are we on the Hoosiers right now?
I mean, I still think they have to beat Ohio State in the regular season finale, and that may not be enough. They probably need to. I think they had to do this in Woodson's first year. Remember they went on a run in the Big Ten tournament. I was there. They went on a run and won a couple games to get in the NCAA tournament that year, getting the first four. They won the first four game and then lost by 100 to St. Mary's. But, yeah, I think they probably need a similar type of run in the Big Ten tournament this year. But I think it starts, you got to beat Ohio State on senior night in Columbus, which is not going to be easy. But a good thing was Sam Alexis played great tonight. Probably a career night for him. Again, I think the bigger thing, did you see Lamar Wilkerson got his mom a brand new car tonight? And they showed video of it. And I think it was in the same complex where my daughter Talia lives. It was in that I recognized the parking garage. So good for Lamar for getting his mom a new car. And we'll see if they can finish out with a win because, again, Indiana needs some work to do. How important is this, RC, for Darren DeVries to get in this year? Because if he doesn't, I've said this over and over, like, I don't know how much the students care right now because it's all about football. So it takes some pressure off him. But if you don't go this year with the payroll they had, it does put some pressure on you a year from now. And he's already started to kind of manipulate his staff a little bit. He brought in a GM, Ryan Carr, who's been with the Pacers for years. So, obviously they've made some moves here. But how important is it for them to get in, just get in this year?
You know what? I from the start of the year, I didn't think it was as critical, but they played themselves in it. And let's be honest here, heading into the night, they had played themselves out of it. And I think that's the thing that they're going to be kicking themselves about if they don't make the NCAA tournament. We go back 2 weeks ago, Indiana's firmly in the field. And then they go on this 4-game skid. And then now they're outside looking in, having to go into, I think, in the Big Ten tournament and win some games. And starting this weekend against Ohio State, they have to find a way to get that win against a team that's equally as desperate, that has to win it. So that's going to be tough for them to go on the road and win that game in Columbus. Ohio State needs it, but obviously, Jeff, it's his first year. There's not a ton of pressure, but from the program state and from national prominence and everything else, it would have been great for them to be in the tournament. But I think the most disappointing thing was, like I said, we go back 2 weeks ago and they're in, and then to go through a 4-game slot like they did. That I think that's the thing that makes it difficult for Indiana if they find themselves on the outside looking in.
Yeah. By the way, Goodman, if you want to
play John, they'll probably end up playing. I'm looking at it right now just so we know the bracket. Like they're like 10 right now, and so they could open with like Penn State, Northwestern in the second round. And then if they win that one, they could get like UCLA. So 2 like winnable games. But
see, I think that hurts them. I think they need quality opponents right away. Like just playing, you don't need to wait, beat 1 or 2 teams, and then your third game is the one that's going to get you over the hump. Like they need out of the gate playing because the deeper it goes, the harder it is. Back-to-back games, man. I mean that becomes more difficult task against better teams. So I think they're better off if they were to get someone at a higher seed that would elevate their status for.
But if they won, if they won those 3 games, if they somehow win those 3, I think they put themselves in a situation where then they're hoping there aren't a lot of bid stealers. I think they go into all this in decent shape, and then it's all right. How many bid stealers are there?
Right,
but 3 in a row also is not going to be easy for them. Let's be honest. Winning at Ohio State is not going to be.
It starts with that one. If they don't win against Ohio State, then I don't think we need to stop the conversation. It's over.
Yeah, I mean
it's a must-win game. All hands on deck in Columbus on Saturday.
I mean, they're going to be a probably 3.5, 4-point dog in that game on the road. Yeah. So I will say we talk a lot about, and we spend a lot of time on the negative side of NIL when guys get paid too much, they don't perform, they don't deliver. Like Lamar Wilkerson has been a young man that has he's shown a light onto it, because I even remember when he got not when he got, but when he got his deal in Indiana, didn't he give money back to Sam Houston State?
Yeah, he gave like $100,000 back to Sam Houston.
Gave $100,000 back to his program. Probably didn't even make that at Sam Houston State. Didn't come close to making it at Sam Houston State. Just bought his mom a car. Like that's the side of NIL we probably don't talk enough about. Like he's clearly maximizing and appreciative of that opportunity. So I hope he's got to get some help. It was nice to see that from Alexis tonight. But that's kind of been the story for Indiana this year. No question about it. All right. Got to take a break. Arkansas, very few teams in the country have been better off a loss than these Arkansas Razorbacks. And the Longhorns felt the fury of John Vincent Calipari tonight. We'll get into that and more on the other side. Field of 68 after dark.
As you know by now, we have teamed up with BetMGM again this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we will have special offers for Field of 68 fans, including same-game parlays, best-in-class live betting, and daily odds boost. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app. You sign up using bonus code FIELD. You deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Make this college basketball season one for the history books. Make it legendary. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD and get your $1,500 first bet offer today.
It all ends here. April 6th, the national champion is going to be crowned right here in this building, Lucas Oil Stadium.
Make sure you follow along Field of 68. We have shows every single night after dark. It's the place to be to follow everything college hoops.
Streaming on YouTube. We're on SiriusXM Channel 84. Selection Sunday. We got a 6-hour marathon. We're going to be at all the Power 4 conference tournament games. We're going to be at the second week of the tournament, and we'll meet you guys right here in Indianapolis to crown a national champion.
Welcome back. Field of 68 After Dark, Wednesday, March 4th edition of the show. We're on SiriusXM College Sports Channel 84. We're on YouTube. We're on X. We'll be here with you for about another 45 minutes. At some point, we're going to go through hot seats. But, what are you going to throw us some lobs here, Goodman? What's the plan? Are you just going to throw some names and jobs at RC or got to place or fire people or what?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell you fire or keep them. Fire or keep them. I'm going to tell you the buyouts. I'm going to tell you the situations, and you are going to tell me whether we should keep them or not. And then I'm going to tell you some names that might be involved if they don't keep them.
Okay, got it. Excited about that. So stay tuned for that. And then obviously we'll have the afters after the show. But let's get into some results from tonight. We mentioned it heading into the break. Arkansas basketball, big win tonight over Texas, 105-85. Darius Acuff. What more can you say about this kid? 28 points, 13 assists, 4 of 6 from 3. And Arkansas, after a pretty bad beatdown against Florida, bounces back. And they can finish now no worse than third. And if they beat Missouri and Alabama loses to Auburn, that would make them second in the SEC. They've clinched a double bye in the SEC tournament. Over the break, I said this was another fantastic year for John Calipari, a second straight fantastic year for John Calipari at Arkansas. Everybody said he's coasting. He's just taking the contract. This guy is better than ever. He is or at least as good as ever.
I don't know if I'd say that. I'm not sure I'd say that, but he's done a good job this year. And in the last third of last season, I think those two things, he's done a good job because we looked at it and we're like, man, you're bringing in 2 freshmen. Like, I don't know how that's going to go, a freshman backcourt, but Darius Acuff has not played like a freshman since basically the jump this year. He's been as consistent as probably any guard, maybe any player in the country not named Cameron Boozer. This kid every night produces, every single night. He is absolutely phenomenal, and he did it again tonight. But, he had 28 points. But I thought, honestly, the difference, the guy who set the tone and the guy who's the X factor and the guy that's going to determine how far they go in the tournament is Trevon Brazile. He's just, when he's good, he's unbelievable. He blocks shots. He comes from the weak side. He catches lobs. He shoots threes. He brings energy. And when he's bad, he's bad. So I think he's the key for me, RC, in terms of the guy who will ultimately determine how far this team goes in the NCAA tournament.
I agree with that. But I got to say, I remember there was a time where we were here early in the year, and people was questioning how good Darius Acuff was. And to your point, Jeff, all year long, man. I mean, seriously, there was I remember a time when there was a debate of the point guards of Flemings, Kingston Flemings, and Acuff, and Michael Brown, and that group of guys. No one's had a better year than he has. I mean, you're talking 22-6, 49 from the floor, 42 from three, the top of the scouting report, and to deliver those numbers, man, that kid's special. He's deserving of every accolade, and I think he'll be a first-team All-American when it's all said and done. He's been that good all year long, and again tonight he was, 28 and 13. I mean, it's ridiculous. You got 13 rebounds. It was 13 assists, man.
It'd be a nice night for him if he had 13 boards. That would help his draft stock.
It'd have been a triple-double.
But he shot it well. Like, what has
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't guarded.
He's always done. He's done it all year
Yes.
long, and that's impressive for a guard. That's why
Yeah.
I said he's 49% of the year. He's nearly a 50-40 guy as a point guard and draws that much attention. Like, that is a unbelievable a stat line for a guy in that league. We're not talking about a mid-major league where he's a dominant guy in the SEC. A lot of good point guard play in that league, and he has been the best one of them all. And I think as good as any point guard in college basketball. He's been that good.
Well, Sean Miller was on the receiving end of that tonight, obviously, as the head coach of Texas, and we've got a little clip of him after the game on Darius Acuff.
I'm just going to make one statement here. Usually, a guy like Acuff gets too much credit or too much respect as a young player in college basketball. That can happen sometimes when a guy is that highly touted and certainly has this bright future beyond college like he does. But in my time, and I'll just go 34 years, I've never seen a point guard better. And not until you actually are in the game and you feel his presence. The adage of a point guard makes the game easier for his teammates. He's a textbook prime example of that. I just have never been on a court where one player at that position is any better than he is. Greatness is how I would describe his game, and seems like an amazing young man. And, just to watch, I bring it up because this is game 30. He's got several weeks or a month or so left. But guys like him, they just don't come into college basketball very, very often. I mean, he's a generational player. He's really, really good. And this number one pick thing, like, I don't know why people aren't talking about him more. I can't imagine anybody better.
I mean, that is – you just don't hear coaches rave about guys like that. I mean, that was something.
I mean, Sean Miller has coached lottery picks. He's coached against lottery picks, number one picks. He just said a generational talent. And the craziest part of this, guys, is like Darius Acuff Jr. probably won't go in the top 5 of this draft. As good as he is, he might not get in the top 5 because it's that loaded at the top, which may be ridiculous because it may look down the road. You may look at this kid and be like, I mean, his game does fit the NBA. Like, he can get there whenever he wants. He can get to the basket whenever he wants. He shoots it from 3 much better than we all anticipated. And he also has like great command of the game on the offensive end. The only area that he's got to get better is defensively, which, listen, most freshmen are that.
Right.
There aren't many Karchenkovs, right? There aren't many guys like that come in as a freshman and can guard at that level. But no, like that shocks me that Sean would say that at that level. Generational talent is like, whoa. But this kid is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think he'll be a top 5 pick, Jeff. I do. I think he will. I think he'll.
All right. So here's my question. All right. So if that's the case, then I'm going to put you in the spot. The point guards, rank these point guards in terms of how you would draft them, RC. And we'll start with Acuff. We'll go Kingston Flemings. We'll go Keaton Wagler. We'll go Michael Brown. Am I forgetting anybody in that top 10? I mean, I'm saying Peterson's already gone. Anybody else? I think those are the four. Acuff, Flemings, Wagler, Michael Brown. Rank them in order. Good luck.
You know which?
Good luck.
I'll say this. I think no. I'll say this. I think a lot of it will be their measurables, right? For guys like, and I think the measurables for Kingston and the measurables for Darius Acuff would be critical because we know Michael Brown has.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
Size. I think that's the difference. I think they're the talent wise they're all there. No one has had a better year than Darius Acuff. So you got a season long full of data on him that tells you he's the goods. Michael Brown, the injuries, the back, those things, but the size is there, the skill set, everything is there. Wagler has the unbelievable size. Do you feel like he's a true point guard? That'll matter, right, in that league. So I think the question will be is when you get Kingston Flemings and Darius Acuff in the gym, and it's like, what are their true measurables? I think the only disappointment thing for me, Jeff, honestly, all year long was the snowstorm. I had the Arkansas LSU game, and the weather was so screwed up I couldn't get there and call the game because that was the one thing I wanted to see. I just wanted to physically walk up on him and just size him up to be like, all right, is he listed as 6'3" and he's 6'1"? Is he, is he,
he's 6'2". I would say he's 6'2" without shoes is my thought.
Yeah.
But you do play basketball with shoes, though, so I don't.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't worry about that as much. But I think that matters when you look at in that pool of guys. I do think the size of it will matter. Like I didn't want to get there and see him, and then he's 6 foot or something like that. And that's all I'm saying. I mean, that's all I meant when I mean with these guys. I want to see the physical measurements of particularly Kingston Flemings and Darius Acuff because I've seen Michael Brown. I know his size and I know Wagler's size. And so when you talk about drafting them, I think that will matter. But make no mistake, none of them have had a better year than Darius Acuff Jr. And you got enough year. You got a season long full of data on this kid that tells you he's good, and I don't care what his size is. He's the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right, RC. Like at some point, like he just is what he is, regardless.
He can go.
Yeah, I mean, like he's giving you efficient 25-point games on the regular as a freshman. And so
at
I
the
feel
top
like
of the scouting report.
100%. Yes. So and he has to do it, by the way, for this Arkansas team. That is the one thing I'll say. I'd love to believe this Arkansas team could, make a Final Four run. Obviously, defense is going to be the question. And I know that's kind of part of the rundown as well. As like Florida's there, and the SEC. I feel like that's what ultimately fails. Arkansas. We saw that is they don't have that rim protection. They don't have that defender.
That's why they relegated, like Jeff said. It's Trayvon. It's just a matter that Brazil, is he going to stretch the defense and play really well offensively because they don't have enough resistance in the paint at the rim to make a deep run against some of these big physical teams. That's their Achilles heel. We saw some of that tonight, how easy it was.
If they could have traded Ewan and Pringle for one more big, use all that money on those two. Now again, they couldn't. They're already thin, so they couldn't. But a little more Tyson Chicken money for another big would have probably helped in this.
They got more, right? They got the sponsorship.
I'll say this to you guys. That's the thing I think that disappointed me with Malik Ewing. I've seen him slide his feet and switch on guards and be a really good defensive player. Like I've seen him do that in the past. So I was shocked to see that they weren't better defensively. I thought he was going to be of a bigger factor in his Arkansas team as well. And they had a good year. They've been good, and but I thought he would have had a bigger impact that would have elevated this team to be even better than they already are.
Yeah. Johnny, what would you give Cal so far if you were giving Cal a grade on this season? No, seriously, what would you give him?
I'd give him.
I give him like a B plus. I give him a B plus, A minus. I mean, an A means you got to win the SEC. You got to win the SEC.
But he's close. I think we're talking about a dominant Florida group. I think he's been good with freshman backcourt, with the freshman guard, and the way he does it. That's Cal's way. Like he's relegated. He's going to get him a freshman, and that's just the way he builds his team. Yeah. And I think this team is as good as he can get. I think the only mistake that they have is they just didn't have the physical big frontline guy that they probably would need. If they had that, then we're talking about this team could make a run to Indy for sure. That's the
Yeah,
only thing
I think the whole tenure has been splendid because
The whole
you know
tenure?
he's been good.
I mean,
whole
did you
tenure.
fall asleep for the first half of last season? Like, where
I don't care
were
about
you?
the first half of last season because they were a bad bucket away from going to the Elite Eight, were they not? They packed up St.
Right,
John's,
but
did
the
they
whole
not?
the whole
I mean,
tenure would insinuate that
I'm
they
not
were
saying
good from
every
start
single
to finish.
game to game, teams go through ebbs and flows, but it's a results-based business, right? Isn't that what it is? And what were the results
Well,
last
what
year?
they say.
Sweet 16. And what are they going to be this year? Probably another second weekend and finishing top 3 in the SEC. And the reason why I say that is because, let's be honest, when he got pushed out of Kentucky, because that's what happened, people thought that he was past his prime. People thought that the best days of Cal were over, that he was going to go to Arkansas. Is he motivated? Is he just taking it because he has to? And obviously, he's doing it the way he's always done it. And he's still now he doesn't have the Final Four. Maybe that comes. But I would say for my money, this is about as well as I could have reasonably hoped for it to go, to be honest. 2 years in.
Yeah, I think he was motivated. I think he was motivated for sure because he felt like he was run out of Kentucky and he felt like they didn't appreciate what he did. So I absolutely think that motivated him. And he went to a perfect place. He went to a place that was hungry, that they were pissed off because they felt like Arkansas fans and the administration felt like Muss didn't appreciate him. So they gave him the money and they have the resources there. We know it's, one of the top 3 jobs probably in the league because it's a basketball job in the SEC. There aren't many of those.
Yep. By the way, how's Kentucky?
I mean, they've been fine this year. Not great, but they've been fine given the circumstances. They've been fine. Well, I mean, they have because we gave up on them. Like they were awful. And it was like, man, they could be an NIT team for a minute. And what are they? A 6-7 seed right now? What were they in our latest?
Closer. They were 6 before the loss. They're gonna end up being a 7 or maybe even an 8.
There were 6 before the loss, and Arkansas was a 5 before the win. So 7-5. There's not a huge disparity, John. You're telling me all that matters is the NCAA tournament. You're telling me that nothing else matters. Just the NCAA
I mean,
tournament.
I think that's at the end of the day, that is if you're doing a good job or not. I think you're going to be measured by that. But certainly, you're padding stats with your regular season finishes. I mean, no doubt about that. So, I mean, especially in a random tournament.
Right. I mean, it's going to depend. If one of them goes to an Elite Eight and the other loses in the first round, yeah, that's a determining factor, right, in the season for sure.
Yeah,
because it was last year.
Yes,
for you,
but
for Arkansas.
But the Cal era is undeniably going better for Fayetteville in Arkansas than the Pope era is going for Kentucky, and I don't even think it's particularly close.
Oh, I think it's close.
The feeling it's close. I think the feeling of that it just flipped for Kentucky. If Kentucky last year was like everybody's darling, and then Arkansas was struggling, and I think the pendulum is kind of swung a little bit this year where it feels more of like Arkansas. Was been really good all year long, and then we had the struggles with Kentucky, and they figured it out.
Right.
So I think it's like even in the sense of that. I think Kyle has got to be as motivated as ever to freaking win it, and obviously he wants to stick it to Kentucky, but he needs to do it. I think he has to be motivated because he's in a place with a ton of resources, as we know. As he left one was there, and he went to one that probably it's just as much, right?
Pretty close.
I wonder how, as his adjusting into this time, what is he going to do anything different about roster construction, right? Like, what does he feel he needs to do to get back to possibly hanging up a championship? He's crushing it in recruiting. We know he just got Jordan Smith, a commitment from him. So we know he's always going to have. That's going to be another freshman guard that's going to come in there and play lights out. But what else? What does the rest of the roster look like next year for Arkansas? And so who comes back, and what pieces does he add? I would like to see him be a little deeper.
Yes,
that meant throwing a couple $100,000 at maybe mid-major guys or specialists to give you minutes. Because I think with his style of play, those guys can be happy. There's minutes for guys like that. So I would like to see that. And then he does that. I think Kyle has a chance to do something special.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing is like, and he's, in RC, this, he's always liked to keep that 6-7 man rotation, but it's like, it cost him, earlier in the season against Alabama because you didn't have Carter Knox, right? He was hurt. So then you got guys fouling out. You don't have bodies. We've talked about Ewan and Pringle. Like
the Alabama game.
Right.
The reason they may not win it, it cost them in Alabama.
Yeah, that's again, that's a double overtime game. So, all right, let's hit Purdue here before the break because Goodman we can't keep Goodman off Cal. I mean, look, the guy is ready to go the entire show on Calipari. Purdue survives. Purdue survives. That's the best way I could say it. Where we're all huddled around the Big Ten Network tonight, and Purdue goes on the road at Northwestern and trails for most of the game. C.J. Cox hits a huge shot. He was wide open, but he made it, and Purdue survives. I was worried, Jeff. I was like, man, is this Purdue slide really going to continue at Northwestern? But Matt Painter, he got it done. They pulled it out tonight at Northwestern. Survive in advance.
Yeah, and the slide started with my interview with Braden after the Iowa win. That's where it all started. Yeah, they have not been great. I mean, they just even tonight they didn't look very good tonight. Let's be honest. Like they got away with one. CJ Cox was on one tonight. I mean, he was terrific. Braden, I mean, turnover at the end of the game was horrible. Wasn't assertive offensively. Just doesn't look like the Braden Smith that, frankly, we all expected this year. We expected National Player of the Year or first-team All-American, and Braden Smith looks like, in an incredible point guard class, he looks like one of them. He doesn't look much better. In fact, I think you take a lot of these freshmen over Braden Smith this year. To me, again, they just don't fit that well. And they're not getting a lot off their bench for the most part, but like Omer Meyer hasn't really given them enough. Oscar Clough isn't, to me, the big man that they probably needed alongside Trey Kaufman, Wren. I don't know. I've just lost all confidence that Purdue can go on any sort of a run in the NCAA tournament. But having said that, they still have an elite coach in Matt Painter and one of the best point guards in the country in Braden Smith.
RC?
I agree. It's well said. I could never count them out with Matt Painter, but again, they limped across the finish line here, coming down the stretch, and it's the complete opposite of a team that we saw early in the year. This team was rolling along. We thought they were, legitimate title contenders, and they don't look like that right now, and that's a strange thing. So let's see if they can put some things together here, get into the Big Ten tournament. But it was a good win. They played a game, Northwestern team, senior night, so there was a lot of emotion in the air for that. But usually, if they get this type of performance out of Cox, they are blowing you out, not barely beating you at the end of a game. So, there's some concerns. There has to be some concerns there.
Did RC? Did we overvalue the continuity here? Like, I mean, I know that's kind of crazy to ask because, two of those guys are all Americans in Braden and TKR, but I almost just wonder if there's just such a ceiling on those guys and they didn't really add. I mean, they brought in Clough, but they didn't really add around it. And so it's a sport that strives for it, that rarely gets continuity. But I'm just wondering, when we talk about preseason number one, and most people in our preseason panel had Purdue in the Final Four, did we just overvalue that and undervalue what they didn't bring in?
Jeff, I feel as though Oscar Clough is a guy that's just different than what they've had. They used to have a little bit more of a scorer punch out of that. We know what Zach Edey's been, but they've always had frontline guys where they can give the ball to, that they could score. And I know TKR is kind of that guy. But to your point about the pieces fit, I don't know if he complements him well.
Agreed.
It's almost like if you had like a more of an athletic guy at that spot, it would help Braden up a little bit more, free him up. It's just not a lot of space for him to operate. I think you're not worried about
defensively
either one.
And defensively,
RC. Defensively, the liability.
That's
They just
the
don't
other
move.
thing.
They just don't move. Yeah, they're not good. They're not very good defensively because
Not
he's not
athletic
really.
enough.
He's not athletic, and he blocks shots because he's there. but it's just, I said the impact of like Zach Edey. He takes up space, but Zach Edey was like, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think Clough, but they got him. They got him on a discount. They did. They didn't have to pay the $2+ million for Clough. Like a lot of bigs in the portal were completely overpaid. So they kind of, again, Purdue doesn't have. I mean, they got good money this year. They got good money, but not Kentucky money, not some of these other.
And that's cool. I just think at some point, Jeff, this was a year. I thought with what you had, I would have gone all in and said, "Hey, you know what? Get that guy because of what we have coming back." I just thought this would have been a year to say, "Hey, can you give me an extra $1 million or $2 million? I need to get a guy." We've been at the mountaintop. We got a chance at cutting down nets with this group, and it just looks like they're missing that.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna decide who gets the axe, who gets to stay. We're going to go through it.
You might get the axe tonight.
Yeah. We might just cut the middleman out.
If my name comes up, I'll stand 10 toes down, and I'll listen to what RC has to say. All right? And I'll accept that feedback. We'll be back. Field of 68 After Dark.
We are running it back with Splash Sports, ladies and gentlemen. Last year, the Survivor contest that we hosted with Splash paid out $40,000 to the winner. This year, the grand prize pays out a guaranteed $100K. For just $25 an entry and up to 133 entries, you can get a chance to prove that you are smarter than the Field of 68. Survivor is the future of March Madness. Just pick one team every day of the tournament to win, and if they do, you advance. The catch? You can only use each team once. We're also hosting a free-to-enter bracket on Splash. If you're looking to host one of your own, Splash can handle everything for you, from the entries to the payouts to the standings. We'll be running it back with the Sweet 16 Survivor contest as well for those that do not survive the first weekend. And Splash is now offering Quick Picks, a daily fantasy game that allows you to predict whether a player reaches a certain number on a specific stat. All links are in the description below. The big dance starts soon. Get in before it tips off.
Are you trying to follow everything happening in college basketball? It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for recruiting news, game analysis, portal updates, and much, much more. For just $50 a year, you get access to the same information that your favorite coaching staff is subscribed to. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help. Make sure you subscribe today.
Welcome back, Field of 68 After Dark. We're going to be here with you on SiriusXM College Sports Channel 84 for about 10 more minutes or so. Then we're going to go over to the afters on YouTube and X, and we'll hit anything that we don't get to in the main show. Jeff Goodman, Randolph Childress, John Martin here with you tonight. All right, Jeff, you want to do the coaching carousel? You know, RC and I, we're actually in the process of starting a search firm, and we're going to workshop that name off the air. So you want to throw some names at us, and we decide who the guillotine drops on and who it doesn't. So let's get to it.
Then we'll go through a few names, Stephen. We'll go through a few names here. All right, the first one, Arizona State's Bobby Hurley. No money left. His contract expires. Had a huge win, obviously, at home against Kansas last night, but they've struggled the last couple of years. I'll get your guys' take, and then I'll tell you what's likely to happen here. But, RC, we'll start with you. What would you do if you're Graham Rossini, the athletic director in Tempe?
I think I've been rooting for Bobby to leave there for years. I've been rooting for Bobby to leave for years. My hope was that he had left there years ago, because they've never had the financial support. They've never had the backing to have anything sustainable. So if you're telling me you're going to go out and get another coach and then you're going to give him money, which you all know typically that's what they all do. You're going to give somebody more NLL package. I think he's earned the right that you could give him that there. He's shown he can get it done there with that. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind Bobby getting a fresh start somewhere else with, probably a little more consistent resources to see what he really can do.
John?
I mean, I think RC said it pretty much the way it is. I mean, if sometimes, you need a different voice right?
Yeah.
As an institution. And sometimes if you're the coach, you got to get a change of scenery. So I don't think he's done a bad job. Obviously had him in the tournament a few years ago, had a decent team there. Was it Frankie Collins? Am I remembering that right?
Mm-hmm.
Who just left Vandy? Who just left Vandy? I actually like that team a lot. But yeah, I mean, I think that's probably just a tough job. And, everything runs its course at some point.
Yeah, I think Bobby's probably coached his last home game at Arizona State. Love Bobby. Hopefully he'll land on his feet somewhere else. The question is, who do you get? Who do you get there? Because it is a tough job. I went to school at Arizona. I know how hard a job it is at Arizona State. Everybody says it's a sleeping giant. No, it's not a sleeping giant.
No,
trust me.
It's just
Randy
sleeping.
Bennett. Yeah, it's sleeping. That's right. Randy Bennett has been a name that has been mentioned for years with the Arizona State job. He's from the area. I don't think at this point in his career he leaves Moraga for Arizona State. I think he's too smart for that. He's got a better job now than if he goes to Arizona State and gets his butt whipped. And to me, you're going to have the court, the gym, everything named after you. Just stay there and finish it out. Greg McDermott, another one who loves to golf, loves Phoenix, has a house out in that area. But all indications are Greg McDermott is likely to retire after the year. So I don't see that happening. The other thing is, the AD hired Molly Miller, a young, energetic women's coach. They have Kenny Dillingham. He didn't hire, but a young football coach. Both are very successful right now. I think he'll look for a younger, men's basketball coach. So we'll see who that is. But I would say Hurley's in trouble. I'll go with a little bit more difficult one for you guys. Let's go with Wes Miller. Because he's really started to win lately. And they put themselves probably a little bit off the bubble right now, probably like, 8 or 9 outside of the tournament right now. But they've come on lately. They were not great early. Wes still hasn't gotten into an NCAA tournament. Probably won't unless they go on a run in the Big 12 tournament at this point. RC, what do you do with Wes Miller at Cincinnati? Who, by the way, his deal right now, if you fire him after April 1st, it would be they'd owe him $4.6 million.
I think everybody would say you go back a month ago and this was a no-brainer. You're wondering if he finishes the season. And this is, you're wondering, you're like, hey, this isn't working. And I thought if they felt that someone on their staff was a candidate, they would have just gave him a shot. The one thing I always respected, and I know him well, I know Wes really well, was that he owned it. There's no snapping at the media when they're asking tough questions. Like, he owned it. So I'm happy for him that he's able to get this thing turned around here at the end. But it's 5 years. And again, it's through a change. It's through a conference adjustment. I get all those things in play. If he finishes this well, it'll be curious to see if they'll say, hey, instead of firing him, do you give him one more year and just announce it, hey, this is a make or break year. I think this job is predicated on if they identified someone else and that person has already said, hey, he's gonna take a job. That's what this is. If they've identified a guy and a guy has said he's gonna take it, he's out. If they don't, and he finishes the way he finishes and getting it, and makes it close, there's a chance he could come back.
And that guy would probably be Jared Calhoun. That's a name we've heard. Josh Schertz's name from St. Louis is certainly out there. But Calhoun has Bob Huggins ties, who obviously was ultra successful in his days at Cincinnati. So that's one there. John, you want to throw another one at me, or you want me to throw another one at you guys?
Well, I would just say I think for for Wes, just to weigh in on that. I mean, I like his team. They added Jizzle James in December. They've obviously been better, but it's been a little bit too mediocre for me, is what I would say. Yeah. I mean, that's a
money too. They've had money.
Yeah. I think it's just top 40-ish, top 50-ish, not making the tournament. Like, I just think it's a little too mediocre for me. And so I think I would probably make the move just to try to get some energy back. Again, I think he's doing a good job at the end of the year, but you're in a situation where you kind of have to have this Hail Mary after 5 years. I think that's enough time to get that going at Cincinnati. So
even with the change, the best conference in college basketball, where do you rank that job in that league?
I mean, toward bottom half, like probably like 10th, probably 10th.
But again, like it works. It cuts both ways though, because you just have more opportunities to win meaningful games and make the tournament,
Yes.
right?
Hey,
like
UCF made it this year. UCF made it this year.
Exactly. Like to me, that's why.
That's the one that hurts.
That's why. That's because they joined with you from the American, and they're going to the tournament with the same coach.
That's right.
And you're not.
Yep.
Gotta go.
All right. Providence. Kim English, likely 0 for 3 here. They got blasted tonight at home to a bad Marquette team, and Kim English likely gone. I think Adam Zagori has reported today that he's already been informed that he's gone. He's owed like $8 or $9 million. A lot of money. They raised a ton of money this year for him. He had $10.5 million this year. Completely underachieved. What are you laughing at?
I just can't believe he had $10.5 million, and that's the team.
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought they'd be a tournament team. So I think Kim English is done. We don't even have to talk about that. I think it's probably warranted. The question I have for you, RC, is who do you hire? Who do you hire to replace Kim English at Providence? Who's your pick? I'll give you mine.
You know what? Go ahead. You give me yours, because I haven't even thought. I questioned whether it was going to happen this year. I honestly thought it was going to be next year. I was shocked to hear that it's already happened.
3 names.
I thought they would go one more year.
3 names for me. Brian Hodgson, South Florida, who's got the personality to be able to do it, and they're running the American right now. Jerry Calhoun, whose best friend is Joe Mazzulla, who grew up in Providence, Rhode Island. Okay, so there's the tie there. Joe Gallo, who's done an incredible job at Merrimack and should be BC's first choice when they let go of Earl Grant, but he could do a good job at Providence too. He knows New England. He's done a crazy good job at Merrimack. So those are the 3 names. If you had to pick one of those 3, who are you taking, RC?
I think you're gonna have to take Hodgson out. I think he's gonna have too many options. I think he's gonna have a lot of high major options that'll be better than Providence. So I would move him out.
Yeah.
You can take.
Well, there you have it. Maybe we'll continue this discussion in the afters, because there's certainly a lot more jobs and coaches to get to. We're going over to YouTube and X for the afters. Thanks for being with us here on SiriusXM. It's the Field of 68 After Dark.
These my DJ Burns things I had for us. Taking them into the depths of Alaska and just dropping them off.
The first person that's gonna die gotta be one of the black guys. We're not gonna make it to the end of the movie.
That's like asking somebody, do they want to get a prostate exam or a damn gunshot wound?
Welcome into the afters. Get your brew, light up your Newport cigarette. This is what we do. The main show is over. You've switched. Yeah, I mean, you are a Blue Moon guy, but you usually do the mango carts, right? What is there a shortage nationally or something?
Couldn't find them in Charleston the other night. Couldn't find them at the I went the show the other night on Saturday night. I realized I had nothing in the refrigerator, so I had to run at halftime of the second game. I had to run down to the gas station. No mango cart at the gas station. Yeah.
That's tough. Blue Moon's fine, though. It's a fine alternative. No doubt about that.
It is.
Randolph Childress, Jeff Goodman, John Martin here with you tonight on the afters. We've been talking about, and let's be honest, this is what people mostly care about at this time of year. If you're not in the tournament, who's firing their coach and who's getting hired? We've talked about Providence and where they might go. By the way, I like those names for Providence. Hodgson,
they're good, right?
Calhoun. Yeah, I mean, that would be – if they get either one of those guys, that's a pretty damn good replacement.
Here's the thing. If you're the AD, Steve Knapp is his nickname. He has to keep his job. Like right now, he hired Kim English and rolled the dice with that, and it didn't work out. So right now, he's got to win the press conference, which I hate for ADs, but he's got no alternative because he's got to keep his own job at this point. So he's going with something that he knows is. So to me, Hodgson, if he goes to the NCAA tournament, I think that wins the press conference there for sure. But like you said,
Yep.
he's probably going to have other options. Joe Gallo, I don't know if you win the press conference with him. He's done an incredible job again going from D2, winning the NEC, winning the MAC now. Like, he's done a crazy good job. I think the one that wins the press conference is Jericho Calhoun, because you're going to get immediately when you hire him, you're going to get Joe Mazzulla coming out and saying what a great hire it is. And right now, there's nobody more revered coach. Well, even Vrabel, but Mazzulla, what he's done this year with the Celtics, like, that dude's walking on water right now when it comes to Boston. So I think Calhoun's a guy that if you can get, now again, he's going to have options too here. Kansas State wants him, Cincinnati could want him. So there's a short list.
I see, Jeff. I think all those guys. I think Calhoun. I think Hodgson. I think Schultz. I think they're like top of the food chain, right? I think they're the next guys that are sitting at the top of the food chain. And I think
you're right.
Of the high major jobs, I think they're gonna have that. I think those teams, unless one of those guys just got some connection or feel like, hey, they just want to go to the Big East and want to go to Providence. I just think they're gonna be at the top of so many lists.
But who else
that they're going to
we're going through it now. And again, there's a lot of similar jobs. And by that, I mean like middle tier job. There's not a lot of Indianas, right? Indiana opened last year. There's not a lot of
I think
those.
with times too, Jeff, let's look at last year. Let's go over guys. When you start looking at it, like, we got the hot young coaches and we got the group this year. Like, we knew last year it was like, or the year before or whatever, it was Dusty and then we were talking about KP and kind of where those guys was going, and they had to pick, and then the dominoes started once Dusty made and KP kind of chose. I think we're headed to that again. The other thing I think we got to add to it is the coaches that were fired a year ago. Like, who's going to get the recycled coaches now? The second guy, the guys are coming back in it. Like, who? There's guys I think we got to look at for situations like that. I think for a job like that, if I'm like, I'll throw one at you for Providence that people may not like. I think Kevin Keats.
You know who I like for Providence?
Has a pressing style. He has a style of play, press to get after you that would fit, and with that, he would get enough. He would be able to be successful in a job like that.
I like Mike Boynton too. I think Mike Boynton should get another shot somewhere. And he's a New Yorker. I think he could fit. He could handle Providence. Like, the one thing I'll say is, like, to me, Hodgson, I think, could handle Providence fans and they would rally behind. He's got some energy to him. Calhoun, I don't know how he'd work in Providence if things go bad.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I don't really have a great feel for that. Go ahead, John. You got some news, breaking news on Memphis today.
Well, I mean, it's certainly interesting news, and I think when my very first show on this network 3 years ago was with Randolph Childress, and it was with Jeff Goodman, and we were talking about none other than Penny Hardaway. That was like the hot button issue of the day, and whether he was the right guy for the job, and whether the program was in good hands. And RC and I both argue. I'm not going to leave you on an island, my guy. We both argued at that time that, of course, it was. Of course, Penny was the right guy at that time. That being said, 3 years have passed. Landscape has changed. And now Memphis has a little bit of decision on its hands. And the news today was the athletic director, Ed Scott, had a meeting with the Board of Trustees where he's talking about the picture of the athletic department. And he mentioned that Memphis men's basketball this season is going to have a $1.2 million shortfall from projections due to season tickets, single game tickets, and parking. And he added that basketball was the only sport on campus that's going to fall short of budget expectations. And by the way, that's coming off of a season where you were a 5 seed and you swept the American. That ain't even talking about the off season that we're about to enter now and next year, which, again, they're going to probably miss the American tournament. If they make it, they're probably one and done. So he's owed $6 million. Penny is if they fired him after the conclusion of this season, Jeff. So, I just think Memphis really has to think about, okay, if we don't fire him, we're going to impose all these changes on him. that, is he willing to accept? Would I accept them if I'm Penny? Probably not. I'm going to do this shit my way. So I think this relationship is headed for some very, very toxic territory, regardless of what they decide to do ultimately.
So I don't
actually
disagree.
What changes? Like, let me ask you guys this, but what's the changes you're saying? Like, what changes?
You would force him, I think, to change his entire staff, and then you would basically work collaboratively with him to hire the next wave.
You've done this though. The staff has changed over,
not as hands-on.
I think that's the negative part of it. I think that's the part where I can't defend Penny. Where you said I've been a big Penny supporter. The staff changing and everything else is where it's like I don't know, like what's going on there. Like that's been there. So I don't know what staff changes and what the university is going to do. My bigger question for you guys would be, is FedEx, what's the money that's coming into Memphis? Is the money the same? This roster doesn't look like the past teams that Penny has had. Is that because Penny, they just didn't draw the guys, or is it because there's been some cut in their resources and then he
they waited.
Some guys and
they had to wait on Haggerty. They didn't have as much money as they wanted nationally, and John can attest to this too. But they waited on Haggerty too long.
Mm-hmm.
They should have cut ties earlier, because by the time they made a decision, it was too late. Everybody was done with the portal at that point.
Gone.
Yeah.
But in as much as we want to make an excuse, and we can nationally, that they don't have enough money, compared to everybody else in the league, they've got
dwarf.
a minimum of double, triple, quadruple, 10 times some. There's no reason they should suck in the league in the American like they do. No reason whatsoever. Now, having said all that, what I will say is he had a really good last year, and his name is Penny effing Hardaway. So to me, I think he's – and I would have probably cut ties with him 3 years ago, okay, personally. But I don't think you'd do it 1 year removed from the year he had. I think that's BS.
Absolutely not.
If you do it.
No,
I think you got to give him one more year.
You think it's BS?
Now I do. I do. I think he had a good year last year.
This is the very good year basketball season in 56 years. Do you understand? They have never lost.
And John, you're there in Memphis. You're there in Memphis, and I wouldn't argue against you on that. But I just feel like he's earned the right to be back one more year at least. If you, I think he's earned
Penny
that.
Hardaway. Only because he's Penny Hardaway. If his name was Penny Hardaway, if his name was John Martin,
I wouldn't argue it.
I'd get rid of him.
You've been trying to get rid of me for you've been trying to get rid of me for 3 years, and you can't afford the buyout. You can't pay the buyout.
Here's the thing, too. What I'll say is, the only thing is, in this day and age, let's face it, he can flip it back as quickly as it went south this year. And if he does, fans will show up again. If he doesn't, they'll be done. It'll be done. I know it'll be a shitty year, but at least then you'll have finality to it. At least then it will be like, hey, you go in this year. If you're Ed Scott, you go in with him this year and you say, hey, Penny, here are the changes that need to be made. If you don't want to do them, hey, you know what? We're done. We're done. If he says, yes, I will do them, and then you say to him, hey, Penny, here's the deal. Just like Graham Neff did a couple of years ago, actually at Clemson, to Brad Brunell. It's if you get in the tournament, good. If you don't, it's over. Now, Brad didn't get in, and Graham Neff still gave him another year because he felt like it was in such a good place at that point. And he also felt like, who am I going to hire? Who am I going to hire that's better than Brad? And they were actually filling the arena. They were doing well attendance.
Well, Memphis isn't. There is a mathematical equation. There's a mathematical. But honestly, I don't want to get out here.
John, who are you hiring? You have the option right now. I'm going to let you be Ed Scott. Who are you hiring? It's not
my job to hire. It's not my job to hire. Who was Dusty May? Who was Dusty May?
You're not getting Dusty May. Dusty May was the guy who went to the Final Four.
But he's saying it doesn't need to be a name. Like, no one knows these mid-major guys until they come to and they get the job and then they blow up.
He was just a guy, and then he took FAU to a Final Four. So that's my point is like, yeah, Memphis is not going to be able to hire the name that is Penny Hardaway, but you need right now, Memphis needs consistency and they need credibility. That's what they need. And is that going to get people in the building tomorrow? Probably not, but Penny's not getting people in the building either. And he's also not winning. I don't want to crush him on a national platform because it's really RC. It's sad to me when you got a Memphis guy in there that loves he's crying after the post game. Like this shit is sad, man. I don't take joy in this at all. But I also think there needs to be a point where you prioritize program over one player. And I worry a little bit that Memphis would be prioritizing player over program if they brought him back, and they missed a tournament and all that. So,
John, I'll say this too. I think right now today, and if I'm wrong, you guys tell me. Today in the landscape of college basketball, this Memphis program is not what we perceived it to be.
It could be though. With FedEx money, it could be.
If it's gonna be the way, if you're telling me, hey, if Penny gets it going again, that they're gonna dump a ton of money into it, but it's a 1-bid league, that it's just.
That's fair. That's a fair conversation. They're prioritizing,
and that's what I'm saying.
Now. I mean,
like if they were in another league, I think it helps Penny in the sense of that it's an impossible situation in a sense. Now he hasn't helped himself with all the other stuff, right? The changing of the staff, the rumors you hear, and blah blah blah. And again, I don't want to get into that because I don't know if it's true or not. I'm just going off the rumors that we've heard.
Hey, here's one name. Here's one name for you. Here's one name. And it's a guy that you'd be rolling the dice with a little bit, but he just won the league in year one, and he's familiar with Memphis, and he was on the staff last year when they were really good, and that's Nolan Smith. Would you hire Nolan Smith?
I'd certainly interview him. I'd certainly give him an interview and certainly see. I mean, I think that's the kind of guy that you have to take a shot on, RC, to your point. Like, it's not a good job. It's not the quality of job it used to be because you play in one of the shittiest leagues in the country. And that's a big deterrent. I mean, period. I mean, Hodgson's going to take the first flight out. I mean, it's just the reality. So I do think you get guys on the come up like that for sure.
I'll say this to you guys. I think the job that they've done down in South Florida right now has made that job an appealing job, and it is it's a place that if you're talking about where I want to live and all the things that come into it, what South Florida has done, that gap you're talking about, it's just not what it once was anymore. Right. And I think that's why you're able to see a guy come in there and we're talking about look at what they're doing down in South Florida. Yeah. If Amir didn't pass, they that's showing you now there's some stability there. They know what they're doing, and then you go out there and hire you identify another guy. He comes in there, and you're rolling after that. Yep. After losing Amir, I just say I think that may be the best situation, job, whatever, however you want to categorize it, in the league right now.
All right, but and just to last point, Amir is the one who showed what was possible in South Florida. He won the league 23-24. Yep. So he definitely signed a light. All right, do we have other schools that we need to hit?
No, we'll let Dagan hit us with some questions.
Okay, here we go. Yep, sorry, here we go.
All right, fellas. One thing I want to hit you guys on. It's another hot button topic, so I'm sure this will create some debate. Is the number one pick? Obviously, a lot of people thought Darren Peterson early, then some AJ DeBonsa conversations. Now, is it a real conversation? Is AJ DeBonsa the number one pick?
It's a real conversation among NBA guys, finally. Like it wasn't 3-4 weeks ago, but I think now it is. Because I think now we forget, like it's – like I watch him now and I'm like, what the hell happened? Like, what happened? He just sits in the corner for the most part. Last night he was actually okay, threw a couple good passes to Flory, threw one lob to Flory, but, like, he's not a distributor. He stands in the corner, and all he does is score. He is so one-dimensional now as a scorer. And that was not who he was. Like, he was a guy that would take it off the glass, push it, spray it, get to the basket. He would guard. He doesn't really guard well right now. Like, he just looks like a completely different player. Even though the numbers would tell you, like, man, he's an elite scorer, he's still not what he was. Like, I feel bad because I feel like, again, everybody's been cheated of seeing, like, the real Darren Peterson. I saw him multiple times, enough so, again, I think I was early in making him the number one player over AJ DeMonsa a couple of years ago. Everybody was like, AJ. And I remember seeing him, and I'm like, why isn't this kid the number one player? I would put him one. And now I'm kind of back to the, like, AJ deal. He's safer. Like, this kid, I just worry, like, what? And I've said this, there was some stuff that happened according to my sources in the preseason. Okay. So he had full body cramps. He had an incident with full body cramps. And I think that did spook him. I do. I think that whether it mentally has really, gotten him to where he can't handle it right now, whether his dad has told him, hey, you know what? Like, I want you to kind of shut this thing. The first time you feel anything, just get off the court. Because, again, what if it happens in front of everybody? Like, what if it happens again? Like, I think if you're his team, you're thinking, we got to protect him from this. And I give the kid a lot of credit because he could have called it a season. Could have called it a season a month ago, 6 weeks ago. And nobody would have probably, he would have taken a hit. But, like, ultimately everybody would be like, well, okay, whatever. He was going through – the hamstring was real. It was real. So we lost John Martin there, RC. This is pretty good. This is the way it should be.
He got fired.
This is the way
he's out. He's got fired.
He's out.
No, I'm with you. I get it. It's a fair debate all year long. It's 1 or 2 and it wouldn't change. I think you can add. He's just gotten some bad advice as well, from someone close to him. I'm not going to say just representation. I think it's a lot of that. It's just fear. It's a kid that you're so close. You've been told, but to your point, you got to give him credit for coming back and playing because he didn't have to. He could have shut this thing down a month, 2 months ago, and still been in number one pick, and he still won't be anything less than a second pick in the draft. And falling to number 2 behind AJ DeBanz was never a guarantee anyway. So his draft status has not been affected at all because I think, NBA teams know how efficient he is and what he's capable of. And I think his upside's so good at his size. You're talking about guys legit 6'6" and scores it at all 3 levels. I think he's just going to, he finished the year. I think it's frustrating for everybody. They're ready for this to be over. And let him move on and be kind of someone else, temporary distraction, so to speak. But I don't think he'll be any less than the second pick in the draft. I just think it depends on what team wins the lottery and what position do they need.
Yeah, and again, it depends on? It depends on the due diligence, the medical. Number 1, does the medical check out? And number 2, the psychological. And that's talking to the kid. What type of feel do you get? You're the GM. You probably get a psychiatrist in there, talking to him. And then it's talking to everybody around him. Literally, you're going to have more people going to Lawrence, Kansas, from whoever is drafting 1 and 2. They're going to send everybody there to talk to everybody around Darren Peterson to try to figure this thing out. And you wonder how much, like, I would be talking to the dad. I'd be talking to the parents a lot in this situation because I think, that's a big part of.
I think it's agent, parents, all the above. Yeah, I think I got to figure out.
I think Darren Matsubar is his agent, and he was a guy who coached the Lopez Twins in AAU ball years ago. He's been an agent for a long time. I actually don't want to say blame anybody, but I don't think he was a big part of this decision-making process. I think the agents at this point, you've got a guy who could be worth, by then, your second contract could be worth $75 million a year by then. Who knows what it's going to be? You're doing whatever the family wants you to do. You just want to keep the kid.
And that's my point. But that gives you insight, right? I'm not insinuating that he was the problem, like he's telling his kid and but he has a perspective of because he had to do something to be able to solicit their business for them to say, "Hey, we want you to represent us," he knows something. So he
knows everything.
Having a conversation,
he knows
exactly.
everything.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's exactly
the question
what I'm
is:
saying.
Are you going to get to the
knows.
bottom? Are you going to get to the bottom of all this? And even if you do, how much confidence do you have that in the NBA, even the parents aren't, they're not decision makers like they are in college, obviously, but in the NBA, how much do you worry that, hey, like, it could be a repeat performance of this?
Yeah, no, not in the NBA. You don't have those words in the NBA. I think this is totally different too. I think the concern is I don't want to hurt. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get injured. I think it's a lot of that. And you're fearful of, like I wondered if some of the injuries he felt like, hey, I'm afraid. I don't want to take the wrong step. I don't want to, hurt this or hurt that and mess this up. I think it's a lot of that. Right. I think it's a lot of that. And that'll be taken care of. Once that gets alleviated and this kid can just go out and play basketball, that's what someone will provide the protection around him. When someone that makes that type of investment in a kid and 1 or 2 pick in the draft, it's different. It isn't 15th, it isn't 19th. That they're not even expecting you really to contribute. You're just there hoping to make a rotation. If they pick you 1 or 2 with his type of skill set, they're expecting you. They're going to give you everything he needs to get it. So they'll help take care of that. So that part of it I don't worry about. It's the talent, and I think you do your homework to feel like, do you have the infrastructure in the team to support him is what you got to decide. If not, then you go with AJ. But he won't go any lower than 2. That won't happen.
Good to have you back, Joe.
Yeah, we started talking about, coaching changes in Memphis, and somebody throttled my internet. I gotta look out around here, bro.
Came back outside and pulled the plug.
I gotta keep my head on a swivel, bro. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So, all right, Dagan, what else we got?
All right, fellas, last one from me. We're gonna look ahead to tomorrow. Michigan heads to Iowa. Just kind of your thoughts on that game.
Yeah, I mean, for me, listen, I watched Iowa in person a few weeks ago against Purdue, and they got throttled. And you guys know what I think of Bennett Sturts. I think he's as good as almost any point guard in the country. Going to be a first-round pick. All about the right things. You just watch that team in person around him, and you're like, you feel bad. You feel bad that he doesn't have more around him. Now, the fact that they're like a 9 seed right now with that group is amazing. Job by Bennett Sturts to have him plays 40 minutes. You can rip on him for his defense at times, but he plays 40 minutes and he's got to do absolutely everything for this team. And he is limited athletically to some degree, which he'll fully admit. But again, I just don't think they have enough to beat. I mean, even without LJ Kaysen, which is a huge hit for Michigan, by the way, huge hit.
Big hit.
Yeah. He kind of changes him, what he can give him off the bench and what he can give him if Elliot Cadeau's having an off game, and what he can give him as a guy that can make shots as a point guard where Elliot can't always make shots as a point guard. He's the best backup. He was the best backup point guard, I thought, in the country. And you really take away from a strength of Michigan, which was their bench with having McKinney, with having Kaysen, with having Cheddar, some of those guys, and now you take away a key piece of it. So they'll still beat Iowa, I think, but this Michigan team isn't quite as powerful without Kaysen.
We won't see the concern with his injury until I think around the Elite Eight. I think they hammer Iowa. I don't think that's going to be much of a game. But when they get into the tournament, and like you said, and they're playing against some big physical teams like they are, where Elliot Cadeau can struggle. And now, he was the guy that you could bring in and could make plays and shots, could make shots. And that's, we're going to see that. We're going to see if they can overcome that right now. They're just better than most of everybody else they're playing now. But I think for them to, just to get to Indianapolis, we're going to see how they overcome that. And they definitely, I think ultimately it could hurt them from even winning it, but it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on Elliot Cadeau. And he's played great all year long for the most part, but we've all had concerns about him. I know I have, and he answered those early. But to cut down the nets, they're going to need him now more than ever to play 6 really good games.
And this matchup's brutal, John. Brutal for Iowa's front line.
I mean, it's pretty much brutal against everybody. I mean,
but it's so bad for Iowa's front line.
It is.
I mean,
it is. This will be bad.
It's like, I mean, honestly, it's
Iowa doesn't
David
have
versus
a front line.
Goliath.
Yeah,
What's
Iowa doesn't have a front line.
Yeah.
So it's just a line.
It's a line.
So,
it's a line.
Yeah.
It's a flat line.
Yep.
Not a front line.
Yep. That's right. Are we on to the Trevor portion of the evening or what?
Trevor had such a bad question the other night that we banned him from asking one tonight.
Yeah.
He's taking a night off. He's taking one night off. He's going to regroup. He's going to come out much better.
He he asked questions last night. This is our second night of a back-to-back. He asked questions last night. But maybe it's with you. With you. Suspended.
How was his question last night?
Pretty good.
Do you remember?
Pretty good. Yeah. He asked how many.
I'll ask it to you, to you guys. So look at our bracket, our Field in the 68 bracket, and if you had to pick two coaches in a wrestling match, what matchup is most intriguing to you based on our bracket?
Hold on, I gotta pull it up here.
In a wrestling match?
Yeah, like old school WWF 90s style, RC special guest referee. Cage
I
match.
got it easy. I got it easily. The best one right now.
Really?
Mick Cronin and Pat Kelsey. I would pay money for that one. You can't tell me.
We all would.
Of the matchup in the bracket that we have, you can't find one better than that.
You can't. It's the cruiserweight division.
Feisty ass competitive dudes. Are you kidding me?
That's a great matchup. That's a lightweight matchup of the year.
It is.
Right?
They're the same height.
Hold on. I had to find a good one. I'm gonna find a good one though. Hold on.
I don't know if you can top that one.
There weren't many. No. That was the pick. That's the one I went with last night.
That was the pick.
It's obvious. It just jumps off the page.
I'll say this one. This would be a good scrappy one, and people may not understand this one as much, but Todd Golden against Brooks Savage would be a good little matchup too.
Yeah.
Right.
We just need
in that one.
I just think they end up slapping each other. Both of them weigh like 100 pounds. I don't know how much.
What would be the worst one? The worst matchup to watch?
The worst matchup to watch?
Arkansas and Yale. Jones and Calipari. Nobody wants to see them. That's bad. That's bad. Whoever doesn't go down in the first 20 seconds, it's over. They both be out of breath.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a bad one. Yeah, I've thought about that.
Yeah, hopefully in the next edition of the Field in the 68, we'll have better matchups. I want to see like old dude on old dude. We don't have enough of that. I want to see like elderly fights. Okay.
Elderly fights?
Yeah, elderly fights. We got the small person fight with Kelsey and Cronin.
You can't get better than that.
Fight.
Yeah, that's a great one. All right, fellas. Well, as always, we're here all week, all month. This is it. This is money time at Field of 68. So you want the most comprehensive college basketball coverage in the whole entire world. Keep it locked here on the Field of 68. For Jeff Goodman, for Randolph Childress, I'm John Martin. Have a great night.